Where did the technology come? It came from all these companies, and they went over to China, and they agreed with Deng Xiaoping, the first one, that said, listen, China cannot become a major power on pure communism. What they had to do, they had to adapt to agree. The only way that they could get off their feet is allow Americans to come in and give them that technology that they needed. Well, where did Hitler get the power from? Where did Hitler get all this technology?
I know Prescott Bush gave
that was part
Adolf
of
Hitler some money doing...
he was a banker there. That was part of the finances there. The petroleum, Exxon, you could name all the big companies went in. Ford Motor Company went in and helped build the juggernaut there. And Hitler during the World War II. And wait a minute, let me finish. Anthony Sutton, that's a book called Anthony Sutton and Hitler, and he showed forth proof about the finance companies that decided to finance Hitler. The same thing that they had done with China. They said China would say, we need a capitalist system. We need cheap labor. Why do you think they got us here from Africa? Cheap labor. So they went to China, and China played the card on them.
But I'm asking y'all is, how can the United States compete with China if their workers make far less? The only way I can see we compete is use the prison industrial complex.
That won't
go ahead.
That won't get
it. But you can expand on it.
You don't have enough. You know, you with 20 million people, you got 1 billion people in China, over 1 billion people. And in their industry, you couldn't compete at the salary, even with the prisons here. Because you can't make all the products that China make across the board.
Yeah, we can't compete.
So you cannot compete with that.
Okay, would you expand on that, Brother Randy?
Well, I agree with some parts of Dr. Of the doc's analysis. I agree with part of it, but the problem I have is concerning. Is when you quote like Anthony Sutton, who's like to the right. I mean, I remember he wrote Trial Hours Over Washington as well as other works and stuff. And some of the stuff is okay, but you have to be very careful when you're with those type of sources of like right-wing conservative sources. You know, him and Larry Abraham and Gary Allen. You know, you
put those aside.
No, I'm just saying. But I'm talking when you look at those. I'm just saying you look at them. I'm talking about it's the same. They come from the same type of. If you look at the background and stuff like that, you see that they basically very similar in some ways in terms of their ideology and stuff. So, but I think that some of the stuff that you said, I agree with a number of points you raised. But I think that Cynthia McKinney in her new book, it came out like a few years ago, When China Sneezes. And she's the editor of this book, Cynthia McKinney, a former congresswoman from Decatur, Georgia, as well as activist and scholar. In the book, she has different scholars talk about it. And this thing about China, they're blowing up this thing about China deliberately. As a matter of fact, you can go to blackandgenderreport.com. There's several articles talking about that, how they're trying to make China into this big threat and stuff, because what's going on is that they see, U.S. see them as a threat to, in terms of economic, in terms of when it comes to trade. And trade, and also producing and manufacturing goods and services and stuff. So that is part of the reason why they're looking at China's threat.
That's the nation has. Wait a minute.
But hold on for a second. I'm just saying.
Wait a minute. You just got to go telling you that without the economics, a country is not worth a damn.
No, I'm not talking about that. That's not what I'm saying. No, I'm talking about that is a part of the reason why the U.S. and others are talking about China and trying to make it appear that
they fear
it's this huge juggernaut. But if you look at closely what's going on is that the U.S. see the China as a threat to their economic interests, financial interests. And I agree with that. But I'm talking about, but also, the Chinese as well as others owe a lot of debt. The U.S. a lot because they also, and there's other countries, including Saudi Arabia. I'm saying the U.S. owes a lot of countries a lot of money. I mean, talking about trillions, okay? And so that is part of the reason why. And what happens is that the Chinese have also had clashed with the U.S. politically, because that's the reason the U.S. has accused China of espionage also. So you have that type of thing going on also. So that's the reason why in that book, When China Sneezes, which talks about not just COVID, but also this tension between the U.S. and China. Okay, and much of this politically motivated was racially motivated because the Chinese feel that they are superior to the Caucasians and white folks, but there's a clash. See, because I remember doing some research, and it was in the Final Call newspaper some years ago, where they were talking about the racism in China, about how the Chinese feel they're superior to other groups, especially African people, and that they see themselves closer to the gods, to heaven, right?
Do they?
No, yes, this is part of the culture, and they were clashing with the Europeans, with white folks, and they were clashing. They feel that they're on the same level, even higher than Europeans in terms of, yes. And so there's been an ongoing, this was the research I picked up from people from the Center for Inner City Studies, because at the center they would study all the various ethnic groups and stuff.
Well, put that to the side. All you gotta do to make the real thing real simple, just go to the major institutions, MIT, Harvard, Yale, all the engineering institutions. You know who you see in there, just about most of them? The Chinese and whites. You don't see you don't see no African Americans.
Well, the reason why, you know why. I mean, you know the policy, because we can compete with anybody. But see, I worked at the University of Illinois, and at the University of Illinois, they said the UIC stands for the University of Indians and Chinese. Okay, that's what I learned about 25 years ago. But they're deliberately setting it up that way. See, our people can compete with them, but they want to lock up. Just like I mentioned, this is about the jobs.
No, I don't think they can compete.
No, they're deliberately locking black people. Our people can't compete with them. You can go, yes, they can. Nigerians, I'm telling you what the deal is. The Nigerians and others can compete with them, and with the engineering, all that kind of stuff. It's a fact.
Now you're talking about. I'm not talking about Nigerians. Those people that have been trained outside the country.
But I'm talking about. I'm saying that people who can compete. There are black people I know.
Yeah.
There are black people right here that I know are super geniuses and can compete with them. They want to lock our people out. That's where, if you look at, just for example, like I mentioned, the University of Illinois, the reason why the Circle Campus and stuff was built, because they didn't want black people going downstate to go to attend school back in the 50s and 60s with the white kids down there and Asian and stuff. That's a fact. And they built this one right here.
Let me send them a